Such an amazing song and such an expression of our hearts about our response to His great love. John 15, Jesus had an amazing dialogue with His disciples, much about love, much about purpose, much about community. And in that dialogue, they probably sat together around a good meal or a cup of coffee, sitting on the beautiful chairs that came from the Jesus wonderful wood factory that He produced. Great chairs, beautiful table, the best wood ever. And they sat around and He said, "Friends, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. And I have invited you, I have placed you to go and to bear much fruit. Not only fruit, but fruit that will last forever and ever. Fruit that will bring glory to God and that will impact the nations of the earth on a lasting way." And He said, you know what? In that place of intimacy, friendship and love, community and commitment, you have heaven open to ask the Father whatever you desire, and He will do it. And He said, there is one most important thing for all what you do. If you ever forgot to remember what life is all about, love one another. Love one another in the same way I have loved you. What an amazing word of purpose, of identity, of belonging, and revelation how we should live together. Empowering us to know that we are chosen to be a part of His family, that was His embracing of us. What a privilege. What a mandate to go and to bear fruit. What an empowering to call us all to love one another. The people out there among the nations, the great diversity, the great beauty, and in the midst of struggles to be people who love. In these days, we're going to discover many things that God will speak to us. And one of the things has to do with a word that He spoke to our mission many years ago. He demonstrated it with the birth of twins on the 7th of the 7th month of the year 1977. And they were 7 minutes apart. And He had something to share with us about something He creates in our midst. And so a portion of our week, as we are seeking God, as we are pondering, has to do with God's word to us about the twins. Let's, in the presence of God, hear from Lauren. Let's have please be seated. Let's watch this piece from Lauren.
In 1977, my sister and her husband could not have children, but she had twins on 7/7/77, 7 months apart. And we felt there was something significant for that. They were some of the first, I think, 2 families to join YWAM as families. And we then had twins on our campus in Kona at that same year. And so we asked the Lord about twins, and He said, I want to give YWAM twins a university and ships, because they're going to be synergistic. They're going to work together. And as they work together, one really validates the other. And one reaches out to where we couldn't reach ordinarily, nor set up campuses, to little islands of 300 or very few people on that island. And so these are the ones we are to serve, and therefore we need both. So the Lord added to us from the beginnings of 1964 about one of the twins was when he gave me a picture of a big white ship, and that there would be medical, there would be building materials, there would be food, there would be all kinds of things, as well as the gospel and discipleship. So to me, the twins are very significant. And he gave us this verse in the last chapter of Acts about the twin-headed masthead on one of the vessels. And so as we began to think about that, we began to embrace what God was doing, and both the ship ministry and the university were born in 1978. There is a revival on right now, and with it we're watching God as he releases several ships and several properties and locations and so on for the land-based university. So we're watching all of this happen, and it's an exciting time for me because I'm seeing that God's blessing in a new wave with both of the twins.
That's well said. That brings us back in our story and into our future. And it explains one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, why we are here in Townsville. This is a beautiful place, and our friends have prepared so well. Let's give them a big hand. They have prepared so well. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. This is one of the first global gatherings, if I remember right, of our whole family here in this beautiful nation of Australia. And this is our first time that we gather here in Townsville, because here God is at work in a very powerful way. When we look at this beautiful city campus that he is establishing and that he has placed here after many years of work with great favor with the city, and so integrated into the spheres of the society here in Townsville. That is a wonderful fulfillment and image of this twin that Lauren just explained, with this campus, this equipping, this ministry, this training, and with this new ship, YWAM PNG, that has such great purpose to touch the city here, as well as to go out to one of the poorest nations and serve them. This is a great place for us to be. This is on the word of the Lord that he spoke to us to come to this place where so much of this twin is visible, and we can experience it and walking into it and imagine and dream what that means for each one of us wherever we come from, and how that is being worked out in the circumstances and the callings we have. This is an amazing place God called us, and if we would have been here 2 years ago, it would have been completely different. There was no city campus, and there was no YWAM PNG ship. So let's hear about the story, how that has all been unfolding, how this twin word has been discovered afresh in the last years, and where we are at right now in our story. So I invite Ken Mulligan, who is giving leadership here, to share with us. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Did you enjoy last night? You know, my wife consistently amazes me. I think John Dawson said I married up. She's not like that at home, but... David Stevenson, you're okay too. Let's give him a clap. to tell the story of the twin here, but before I say that, it's just so wonderful to have you at our home. It's wonderful to have you at our place. You know, as Robin said and Steve-O said last night, you know, many of us have travelled so far to be here at this particular point of history, and we actually don't want to miss it, do we? You know, we've put a lot of time and energy into this time, and I'm sure you have as well. So something special is about to happen. And how does that something special happen? You know, as I was thinking about all that God has taken, not only myself, but all of us in this room through, there's something that God's been challenging me about a lot, and that is whether I am willing to change. We love change, don't we? We get all excited about we can go and do it, and we can affect the world, and we can affect the nations of the world. Would that be true? Yes. But you know something I've found? I found that I've been the one that actually has to change, not God. Isn't that an interesting thought? I'll say it again. Who do you think needs to change if we're going to change the nations? God or you? So even as we continue on this morning, I think as we go through this week, God wants to challenge us about some of our concepts, some of our precepts. Are we willing to actually change to go into this new season? Because it's a new season, isn't it? I think it's a new season. For us to actually have this campus is just an incredible miracle. To have the ship, it's been an incredible miracle. So I'll tell you some of the story of what we've been through. You know, for us to come into the campus, and why I say it's such a miracle, we actually didn't want this campus. You know, I think I've been the most reluctant person sometimes. You know, the promptings of God. And you go, no. None of you can relate to me, can you? And God prompts us about various things, and we just go, well, you know, we're out at West End, which is a couple of kilometres from here. And I was very satisfied, not wanting to move, had everything organised, so I thought. We had a ship as well with the Pacific Link. And Jared gave me a call, actually an email, and he said, I think you should look at this facility. And I said, no, I'm not interested. And he said, I think you should really look at this place. I said, I'm not interested. He said, you should come and have a look. So actually we walked onto the facility, and as we walked on the facility, God's Spirit really bore witness with us that this was home. Now you've got to realise this is in the middle of so much going on. You know, to operate a ship is one thing, but then also in the middle of this take on another ship. And to have two ships and a new campus, renovate the old one or the old campus, 14 different properties to sell them. So it was pretty chaotic, to say the least. So when I say it's a miracle, I'm not joking. Because the goodness of God has been incredible. But why would God want to do this? Just to make us feel good? To make it so we can have more people come and get trained? You know, in the heart of God, He really does hear the cry of the people, doesn't He? Don't you think? He hears the cry of the nations, the people of the nations, and He really does say, who will go? It's not just a nice concept. You know, as we've been in Papua New Guinea for many years now, and you go into some of the very, very isolated places, and it's such a wonderful message to be able to go into the villages and say, God has heard the cry of your heart. Isn't that cool? And it's such a wonderful privilege to say, not only has He heard the cry of your heart, but He hasn't forgotten you. When you think about the world, you know, God loves His creation. And so, very simply, why He wants the twin to work together, because He loves us to position ourselves to receive the authority in a whole different way to go into nations, because He's talking about nations. He's talking about whole regions. And the challenge for us, for me, for you, am I willing to change? One of the catalysts that made this change a reality was we received a gift, and it started something that shook us incredibly. And you know, I think God snuck up on me a little bit. I was involved in mercy ships from 93 to 96, and after I left, I thought, I will never have anything else to do with ships. Thank you, God. I'm so grateful. It's just a lot of work. So I was very happy at that point, because you've got to understand, one, I don't particularly like ships. Hear me in the right way. I love ships and what they can do. I get seasick, so the shine really goes out of it when you go on the open ocean. But during that time of pondering and thinking, I was at a conference, not too dissimilar to this. It was in 2007 at Proclaim, and I had Captain Jesse Misa from over in New Zealand with YWAM Marine Reach, and I thought, oh, I'll introduce him. So I did. And he started to talk to me about the concept of ships again. So with that introduction, I'd like to show you a piece of history from 2007, what happened in 2010. It's quite an historic time for us in YWAM because of the generosity of one nation to another. Do you like generosity? Yeah. Do you think that's one of the way forwards? Yeah. It's not always easy to do it, is it? Especially if it's really precious to you. So let's watch this video.
This is a special day. And he says, well, I've been praying. John Brignall. And the Lord spoke to me and told me that we should give away the ship. That's not God, John. And he said, so John, if God was going to give us this, if we're going to give away the ship, where are we and who are we going to give it to? I think, and I believe that we should give it to Australia. In 2007, April, how many of you will proclaim? Ken introduced me in this wonderful meeting. We've had 700 delegates from YWAM, New Zealand, and the Pacific. You know, it's an amazing time. And during that time, I've been courting Ken for a long, long time to get back and get his act, because we've been trying, every time we see each other, come on, Ken, I said, we're going to be coming back to the ship ministry. Someday, Jess, someday, you know, or maybe not. Well, Ken, we feel that we are to give the ship away to Australia. So can you lay that down on me again, please? I said, we want to give the ship to Australia. And the question was, no strings attached? I said, no strings attached. You know, a lot of people, I've asked this question in New Zealand, so how many of you would like to give your base away? And all of them raised their hands. I thought I was going to get a negative answer, you know. So how many of you would like to give your base away? And I asked the same question in Australia, and most of them raised their hands. So we're not doing a special thing after all. God bless you, and thank you so much for giving us an opportunity. And I would like to offer you a symbol of our love. We got the steering wheel, so there's a symbol of you now steering the wheel of the Pacific Link, you know, to its next place, and the clock representing the many years to come of our involvement and partnership. So it says here, in commemoration of the handover of the ME Pacific Link to YWAM Australia, with all our love from YWAM Marine Reach, New Zealand, October 2010. So we just want to present this to you now. Ken.
It's not just about a ship. and a transferal. It's about a partnership and a friendship and a relationship and family. So God bless you. I don't think I said it well enough, but I hope you catch my heart, and I hope your spirit jumps, because God is very excited. Thank you. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your obedience. Thank you for, again, New Zealand being willing to be prophetic and step out and do those radical things. I hope we make you proud, and I hope that we work together. But don't desert us, because the best is yet to come.
All of those who've had expectation and a desire for a Christian ship ministry to serve among the islands, come on board. Come on board today. Receive grace today for your generous contributions previously, because all of that weight of faith and hope culminates in our hearts today as we look to the future for the grace of God to both represent the best intentions that God placed in your heart to have concerning what you have done, and all of the dreams that are in His heart yet for the multiplication of these amazing agents of grace, called ships, that we want to see serve those who normally would not be able to receive the services that we're able to give them because of their remoteness or because of their circumstances. Thank you all the way back, 72, 73. Thank you for those that were specifically engaged in the acquisition of the Pacific Link. We receive from you and from your hand, from your generosity, with great grace and intention to represent you powerfully, with grace and humility as we commit to serve the nations. God bless you. Thank you.
Lord, would you bring a word in season into every single heart that stands today?
But just in closing, I do want to just stop and thank YWAM Australia. But, you know, we are incredibly humbled and very grateful. As we received the gift of the Pacific Link as it came into harbour, just amazing, amazing, amazing. And with that generosity, at the same time, we had the city here come to us and actually offer this property to us as well and said, would you like to move into the heart of the city? Isn't that crazy? So, of course, we said yes. But we've had many, many businesses involved with us, over 100 businesses locally, just to help prepare and get things done here, from all sorts of different backgrounds, and we just really witness. And God is making a very clear statement that He is for us, not just us, but us. Isn't that good? It's so important to understand the time and the season that we're in and what God is trying to do. And because of that generosity, we then went up to Papua New Guinea, and our first patron, the Honourable Mike Reynolds, former Speaker of the House, he came, or actually I approached him and I said, would you like to help us? So Mike took me up to Papua New Guinea and we started to walk through some of the protocols and started to understand what we are to do. So in that year of 2009, we talked with the Secretary of Health, Clement Malau, Dr. Clement Malau, and he said, I'd like to invite you into our nation. So we said, well, what would you like us to do? Where would you like us to go? And a friendship and a partnership was born. Isn't that fun? And they, in Papua New Guinea, would love to work more closely with us. And I've had many presentations from some dear friends. And I'd like to show you a video that we've just completed. This is a very exciting video. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. We produced a number of videos. Not only our guys, but many guys from around the world have produced this, and I will be surprised if you don't cry. Because it is stunning, in my opinion. And I've watched it now 3 or 4 times, and I thought, well, that's okay. And then I start to watch it, and then I cry. Would you like to see it? So this is the first time we've shown this video publicly to you.
My name is Victor. I come from Papua New Guinea. I love my country. It is so beautiful and so diverse. We are known as the land of the unexpected, the least explored country on earth. We are made up of many different tribes, each with their own traditions. Me and my people live in villages. We live in high mountains, jungles, rivers, and the coast. Though we have much beauty, we are facing very big healthcare challenges. Many of our women die in childbirth. We have one of the highest rates in the world. TB has been declared as a national emergency. Our children are dying of preventable and treatable diseases. Many of us will never see a dentist in our lifetime. Hundreds of thousands of people have low vision or no vision at all.
Makasi had been blind for 10 years. Her and her family heard about the ship being in their area and paddled in their canoe for 2 weeks to see if there was anything that we could do for her eyesight. After a 45-minute operation, her sight was restored to perfect vision. She saw her 3 children for the very first time that day. She went from someone that was downcast, that had no hope in her face, to someone that had light in her eyes, someone that had hope and excitement for her future.
It's so amazing what happens when the ship first comes into a village. All the men, the women, the children, they all gather along the shores and they start singing, start dancing. The ship is more than bringing healthcare. It's really bringing life and really giving them hope for the future.
On board the ship we have a day surgery unit, a laboratory, dental clinic and lecture theatres, which allows us to bring really specialised care right there to the people in the community and the villages. A helicopter will be on board, which will allow us to do emergency transfers as well as to even reach further inland to some of those places that are needing specialist care.
The training element of the medical ship is very, very important. What that does, especially our health workers working in remote settings and those difficult settings, it empowers them, it strengthens them. It gives them that someone does care.
I've been involved now for over 30 years, and to be on this journey for so long and seeing so much change, and now we are positioned to be able to help so many people. The greatest resource in Papua New Guinea is its people. And as we have the privilege of working alongside Papua New Guineans, we can see incredible things happening.
My dream, I want to be a nurse. I want to help my people in this district and country.
One of the things I love most about the work of the ship is seeing young Papua New Guineans engaged. Seeing young, passionate Papua New Guineans from urban centres able to come out into a rural context of building their nation.
When I think of the message I want to live, it's like me liking life. I want life, and for you and for me is to have life and live it to the fullest.
We look despair in the eye and we say, you do not have the final word. We're people who have our fingerprints on a torch of hope. That's Papua New Guinean fingerprints, Australian fingerprints, fingerprints from all around the world that press forward because we want to live.
So arise, all sons of his land. Let us sing of our joys to be free. Papua New Guinea.
For me, when I watch the video, I always have the memories of all the stories that go with it. Becomes very personal, doesn't it? You know, I have the privilege of trying to figure out what to do with another ship. So I'd like to give away the Pacific Link. Would that be okay? I'm looking for volunteers. Now, remember when I started this, I said, are you willing to change? And how many of you said yes? Can I see a show of hands? All jokes aside, it's amazing what God will do if we're willing and open. So today I have the privilege of calling up Brett Curtis, but before I get him up, one of the things that we are doing is we've been walking through how do we work more closely together. Because I think the future for us is actually strengthening each other, to work in ways and being so deliberate to see how our friendships, our partnerships among our centres, among us as people, because we just cannot do it by ourselves. You know, we have some wonderful strengths here, but we also have some incredible weaknesses. And that's reflected all over the world, isn't it? We've got some great things we can do, but how much more can we do if we work together? It would be incredible, wouldn't it? So, very simply, I would say of Brett, he was very active in pursuing friendship as well, as he's been involved in mercy ships for many years, and Karen on that journey. And they said, well, let's work together. And I said, well, let's do that. Let's really do that. Let's not play around about this because I can't make this happen. So what we've been forming is a joint venture, and YWAM Ships Kona is going to take the responsibility of the Pacific Link. Isn't that cool? And we're going to celebrate that and commission that on Thursday night. So make sure that you're down at the wharf when we do this. It's a little bit of history. But I love the fact that we can be generous, don't you? Because it's not just a good concept. It's something that we need to really embody. We need to carry within our hearts. And it's getting to the point, well, if we don't succeed, you know, we both don't succeed. It's nearly like that. It's just, God, we want to see all that you want to do in this next season. So we need to agree with each other and look for opportunities, particularly over this week. How can I work with you in a whole different level? Don't you think? It's about the twin, it's about the training, it's about the ships, it's much more. But ultimately, it's obviously about God. But it's about what can we do as we combine together. So it's with much pleasure. Brett, do you want to come up and give more of the breadth of what's happening around the world? Let's give Brett a hand. You know, you need to give him a far bigger clap because he's about to take on the responsibility of the Pacific Link.
When we work together, I think it brings a big smile to our Father. And when we give things away like that with no strings attached, and it is done in such radical generosity that began with Marine Reach giving it to this base and then them to us, who knows where it's going next. But I think God has started something that has momentum to it. It's like stepping onto an escalator that had nothing to do with your energy. It had everything to do with the Holy Spirit. And there's just momentum under your feet because over the last years since Jesse stepped up and transacted and gave that away, we've seen amazing growth around the world. I'm going to give you a quick bird's eye view of YWAM ships around the world, ship-equipped ministries in all corners and pockets and rivers, and some are with islands, some are with Mediterranean places. And it is just incredible what God has been doing. And, of course, the one that we just love to talk about right now as the YWAM PNG, and you're all going to get to see her focused on Papua New Guinea. The Pacific Link, we've decided that we're going to commit at least the next 5 years to the islands of the north of Papua New Guinea. And so we're looking forward to... Yes, you can say, thank you, Jesus. We have the Wilderness Explorer going down into Mexico. We have the Arctic Mercy touching people of Alaska. We have the Libertad and Cartagena in Colombia. Up in Siberia, we have the Najesta, which is nicknamed the Da, after Darlene. It's right up smack in the middle of a place that can only really get going about 3 or 4 months a year because it's so cold. In Belém, at the outstretch of the rivers, in the fingers of the Amazon, there are 2 boats there. The Pacific Hope's underway for the first time this month, which is so exciting. It's in Vanuatu. I just spoke to Mike Mears a few moments ago. Canary Islands, coming out of Tauranga, New Zealand, yes. So that, Jesse gave one away and he got one back twice as big. There you go. You can never outgive God. Turn to the one next to you and say, you can never outgive Jesus. The Soteria in the Canary Islands, and the Mandolin in Fiji, and the Mateus in the Amazon, with the Australia 2 in the same place, and the next wave in the Mediterranean, and the Felipe and the Quitos, Peru, and the Marshall Islands, Cloud 9, and then Mazatlan, the Amazing Grace, we'll get there next month, Mallow Moons in Panama, and they go to the Nobe Indians up these rivers. And here's YWAM Ships offices and training center in Kona, Hawaii. God's given us a beautiful spot right next to the pier. And I just wanted to pause right here. The accident that we had in January, where we lost our ship, and we lost one of our crew, Aaron Bremner. You gave, you prayed, and it poured in from around the world. This is family together. That was really YWAM together. So I wanted to take a moment and say thank you. So tender, so real. From warehouse to the field, gathering supplies, we must reach everybody. When Jesus said, I want everyone to hear, that means the little guys on an island of Lib in the middle of the Marshall Islands that has 300 people on it. And the government said, if you go there, would you please take inoculations and vaccinations? They haven't had help for a while. Our boat broke down, and we said, how long has it been since you've been there? And they said, 10 years. And so Captain Ann and her team went in there and inoculated everybody except 2 little boys who ran away. Give the injections to mom and say, when they get hungry, get them. They'll come home. So the twins, U of N, campuses around the world, bases that have innovative approach to field assignments, and they get on board the ships, and boom, it's just something is ignited by the Holy Spirit because we're obeying a word of the Lord. You find an airport, climb aboard, and you sail off to these isolated places. Without airports, no roads, no bridges. The only way that these guys get the gospel and help of any kind comes across the horizon. And you watch them looking and searching, or watching something come around the bend of a river. It's the only way help comes. And it can come in the form of dental, community health education, and primary health care clinics, and water projects, way off the grid. We had one group just a couple of months ago give us a GPS coordinate. Hey, we're right here in the middle of the Amazon, and have a look on Google Earth. And we went right on top, and we just saw green trees, because they are way off the grid. Midwifery assistance, optical, or both, maybe. Okay, vaccinations, birthing assistance, Bible distribution. We love to do that. We must reach the remote so the blind can see and the deaf can hear, and good news is preached to both young and old, to everyone, because it doesn't matter how small and isolated you are. We're coming after you. And that's YWAM Ships globally. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. What a great story. What a moment in time we are living where God is unfolding many, many new things. What a joy to zoom into the amazing faithfulness of God that is worked out in very practical and tangible things. So thankful, so rejoice in my heart that this week we can together create history as we understand God's amazing story with us. Faithfulness is what we worship Jesus and our Father in heaven for. And faithfulness is what keeps us going as our fathers and mothers, as our more life experience generation has faithfully held on to the vision and the calling of God for our whole mission, including the twins. There has been especially one man that has been deeply involved in the creation of the University of the Nations, our co-founder, together with Lauren and Darlene, Dr. Howard Malmstead. As we remember our story, I felt it would be so good to, at least for a moment, remember this man and what he has contributed to where we are at today. He has been a man of great faithfulness and obedience to the word of the Lord to him, and a man that could, with his great knowledge and his amazing character, to partner with a visionary follower of Jesus like Lauren, creating a university that no one has seen before. Let's watch the short video remembering Howard, introduced by Tom Bloomer.
Howard Malmstead was a world-famous research scientist in the area of spectroscopy, which is the study of light. But he worked throughout other areas of science, and especially inorganic chemistry, as being one of the fathers of the transition from analog instrumentation in science over into digital, because he had learned electronics way ahead of his time. He was in a crash program developed by the U.S. Navy to teach radar to some of their brightest young officers. And in just a few weeks' intense course at MIT in America, he learned how to operate radar systems. So he knew the value of an intensive modular education. So when other scientists were being told, you need to go to a university for 3 years to get a master's in engineering to know how to build your instruments, Howard said, I can teach you in 6 weeks how to build your own electronic instruments. So he was really the father of that major transition in scientific measurement. At the height of his career, he was invited by 3 different U.S. universities to be president. As he prayed about these invitations, the Lord spoke to him and said, don't accept any of these, because I'm giving YWAM a university, and I want you to be the first provost. He went out to Hawaii to meet Lauren, who just had this word a few months before, but had told no one. And Lauren said, Howard, I don't know how to tell you this, but the Lord's giving us a university. And Howard said, yes, and he's told me to be the first provost. So that's how he joined up with Lauren. One of his first jobs was buying his own machete and cutting down the 2-meter-high weeds out in front of the Kona campus. But he brought his incredible intellectual gifts and also humility to leave his career at the peak of his professional reputation and of his earnings power, to lay all that down and to join Lauren and pioneer a university that did not exist. He was a true visionary, seeing decades into the future. He would share in a clip you're going to see about things we had no idea what he was even talking about. But he saw the future very carefully, and he gave the rest of his life as the first provost of this university to seeing that future come to pass for the University of the Nations.
Microtechnology will transform society. On a small 1/4-inch chip, literally thousands and tens of thousands of electronic circuits can be etched, which will provide the computing power of a whole room full of electronics gear of 25 years ago. It is predicted that within a few years that a child in the morning will have a home computer that he sits at to go through some of his lessons. He'll go to school, and in every classroom there will be microcomputers which he'll work with, And following school, he'll work with more microcomputers.
That's the time we are living in. What a visionary. We love to honor those who have gone before us and just say thank you for your faithfulness and for holding on the word of the Lord that at the time it came forth was something that needed a lot of change, a lot of repositioning and embracing of many, many new things. Like Ken said, it didn't need God to change, but our fathers and mothers, they demonstrated that capacity to change and to follow God into new things that we have never, ever done before. That were very strange and that didn't fit at that time to a youth movement of short-term, young and entrepreneurial young people that engaged. So let's give a big hand to all our fathers and mothers that were faithfully holding on. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren and Dar. Thank you. Thank you. As we look at this university today, that is embedded in a beautiful mission. As we look at these ship-based ministries that are embedded in an amazing mission, we start to see a glimpse of God's amazing thought in this birthing process. To learn, to grow and to develop, embedded in a global mission, working in so many nations, people from many, many languages, cultures, background experiences, generations, representing so much that God had that in mind to embed in this His idea of a university. Not to copy what is out there in the world, but to pioneer, reinvent, and shape something very new, where we are not only talking about the mind and the knowledge, but about the heart, as well as the skills, a holistic, empowering development and engaging in God's purposes. That is something that is brand new, and we have the privilege to continue to pioneer what is in God's heart, and to see this unfold to all the purposes He had. So let me just share a few things that are taking place right now, what we are allowing to move towards. That is the great multiplication. You will see in a few days, we will display many of the campus development that is going on around the world. You will be so surprised and so thankful what God is doing in our multiplication. When we look at the campus development, there is so much happening on growth and on preparing for much more capacity, as well as multiplying into all the Omega zones. There is a great motivation in our midst of people who love to pioneer and to go where we are not. That multiplication element is something really, really important that we are observing. What is also new is that we are creating many more training tracks in categories where we have not trained yet. As we look at our mandate to disciple all nations, we are so aware that we basically just started. So much of what we do is in the category of Christian ministries, and there is so much out there. When we think on a nation like PNG and all what there is needed to serve God's purposes, this nation, then we are so aware we just are at the small beginning of much more categories of equipping, of much more variety that we are in need to create. There is much that we need to have on continuous education and equipping that we call to a degree that we can commend people. It's not a degree to give a piece of paper. You will see on Thursday night when we celebrate the fruitfulness of many graduates that those are not people that just carry a paper. Those are people that have been built by the living God, that are practitioners, that are people we can commend, that we can stand behind, and that we can sign off on who they are in God and what they have learned, what they have become, and the skills and the knowledge they have. So there is much growth that we develop that you will see in these next days. There are many out there with our extension study programs that have no ability to study full-time with us. When you think on this young refugee from Sudan that has made its way to Cairo and can be there in a community center and learn from YWAM's University of the Nations about the Bible, who can learn about worldview, who can learn about skills, who can learn about practical elements of life and receive for the first time in his life a certificate of completion of an area of their studies. There is a multitude out there that we are loved to serve, to engage, to help them to move into the purposes of the living God. And for all of this, we have created a new record system and a new app for our bases so that we can actually create in many, many languages all these new things that God would love to do through you and to serve the nations that He has called you to do. This record system is very powerful to give each one in their own language the ability to create curriculum, to register courses. It gives everyone access to see what they have studied so far. If you look at your name tag, many of you have a piece of paper in there. Can you look? There is a piece of paper that is your profile that lists all your courses, your studies that you have done with the University of the Nations, and you can go to our booth if the address needs to be updated, or if you are one of the very few that might miss a course on your profile. We love to help you to get that all clarified and done. Thank you. We have a very rich alumni out there, many people that are engaged, and we love to reconnect, we love to work together, we love to mobilize our alumni into God's purposes that He has for the nations. And we are so aware that there is much leadership development needed, that there are many more young people and more life-experienced friends that need to join together in YWAM together to see God's dream that He had as He created this mission coming true. So these are just a few handful of things where the UFN is moving, what we are right now doing, and we are so excited to work much more together and to discover not only between the twins, but between all ministries of YWAM. It feels like it's a new season, a new maturity in all of us to join hands, to partner, and to work together. This is a great season where my heart is filled with joy and with faith for what God is unfolding in our midst and in the time that we are living. Each day, we're going to take a moment to communicate. Today, we live in a time, like Howard said, where we can take our little handhelds, or some of you have the watches now, that you can do all the communication on your watch, and some are even more advanced. You can just think, and it's all out there. So it's all connected. So we're going to take every day a short moment for all of us to pull out our handheld units, and we're going to do a little bit of practicing of communication. So I ask Brett to come to introduce that, and you can get ready with your handhelds, all connect, and then we're going to communicate out to the nations of the world together. Let's welcome Brett.
Thank you, Marcus. I'd like to introduce to you two very good friends, Rebecca Hoover. Let's give it up for Rebecca and Daniel Norris. Give it up for Daniel. These guys are going to lead us through what it's going to take to connect to the rest of the YWAM world out there. And hopefully as many as possible can participate this week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brett. Well, good morning. We're so happy to have you here in Townsville. Really looking forward to sharing with the broader YWAM world. And to start, we've actually got people watching live at the moment. So what we'd like you to do is give a great big wave and hello. We're going to have the cameras go by. So wave to all your friends who are watching. Say hello. We're so glad to have you watching wherever around the world you are.
Yeah, it's such a privilege to be here, and we're so excited to be a part of communicating this. And for those of us on the communication team, we really have it on our heart to be able to not just be experiencing and communicating what God is doing here internally, but we really want to include the broader YWAM family in this. As we know, the turnout here is incredible. It's such a privilege for me to actually be physically present here, but there's so many of us, as we know, in our family that are not able to make it and be here. There's thousands and thousands around the world. And so we do, as Marcus was explaining, have such an incredible opportunity to be able to share with those out there. And so we want to really encourage you to be connecting with YWAM's global social media across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're going to be sharing all week daily recap videos. This is where you'll find the live stream as well as past sessions if you want to tune in. And there'll be photos, all kinds of stuff. So please take a moment to go and like these profiles and follow them and be resharing the content out there. We want to encourage you right now, could you please just take a moment? We want to be careful that we don't go through this week and just experience this incredible thing that God is doing here and keep it to ourselves. And so just take a moment and think of, is there one person, or if you're a base leader or a ministry leader of somewhere around the world, think about who you could contact today, who you could message in this break right now with some of these links, and especially the YWAMtogether.org website, and encourage them to tune in. Because even what we've heard this morning is so incredible, the story of ships and the university. And so we don't want our global family to miss out in any way.
That's right. So it'll be on YWAMtogether.org for that link, or you can go to the YWAM YouTube channel and download it and watch it after the fact. So if you're not able to stream live from where you are at the moment. But we've got some other exciting things planned as well to make it a little bit fun. So Daniel, what have you prepared?
During the week, we also want to encourage you to be sharing, so taking pictures with your own phones and be tweeting out quotes and key messages that you're really sensing from here. So we want you to be hashtagging these things with hashtag YWAMtogether.
Okay, wait a second. We're Youth with a Mission, but I have a feeling there may be a few people who aren't quite sure what a hashtag is or why they do it. Is that right? Okay, so I prepared a little something for us. So if you can reach under your chair, there's one person here. You'll find a cardboard hashtag under your chair. Hold it up if you find it. It's sticky tack, so if you feel something strange, pull it down. Where's Kelly? All right.
Hopefully.
Can you come on up quickly? Give him a big hand clap. What's your name? Stuart. Nice to meet you. I'm Rebecca. All right. This is the hashtag. So Daniel's going to explain what a hashtag does for us.
Well, we have limited time to explain, so I also want to encourage you, just behind the tent is the Youth Ministry Expo. So just talk to anyone that's involved in youth ministry. They'll be able to tell you what it is. So, that's not my expo. My expo is up here to the right. But simply put, it's simply a tag or a way to connect the conversations and connect online on social media all the things that God is doing. So across the posts that we're doing and the posts that you're doing, it brings it into a central place where we can actually connect with each other and not miss out on the conversations that are going on and connecting. So
someone take a picture of Stuart and hashtag YWAMtogether and YWAM. We've got a little prize for you, Stuart. It's a little YWAM notebook and a cafe voucher. So enjoy. Thanks for being a good sport.
Thank you.
We've got another little contest happening as well. So Daniel's going to be posting photos of the day?
Yeah, also with that, we actually started this back on Sunday, but every single day we're going to be featuring one of your photos as a photo of the day. So we're going to be giving out daily prizes and featuring that photo across all of our social media. So there's actually already been 2 winners. We'll announce today's winner when we come up tomorrow as well. So be posting your photos using these 2 hashtags, YWAM and YWAM together, and we'll be featuring that, and you'll get more prizes like coffees. We're giving away burritos and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned for that.
Now, I live here in Townsville, and I love this place, but I'd like to know who is it your first time to Townsville here? Amazing. We hope you're enjoying it. And the entire city is actually incredibly excited to have you here. They are just over the moon to be hosting this incredible historic gathering here. And they've done something really special. How many of us YWAMers here for the first time on the Great Barrier Reef would love to find a way to see it while you're here? Kind of hoping? Okay. The city of Townsville, as you're out and about, they've asked you to hashtag Townsville Shines. So in addition to YWAM Together and YWAM, when you're enjoying this beautiful land that God created, hashtag Townsville Shines, and you will go in the draw to win one of 3 prizes. So we've got a trip to Reef HQ Aquarium, which is the largest Great Barrier Reef aquarium in the world, I believe, and that's just down the road. We've got a family pass to Magnetic Island, where you can go see the koalas. And we have a trip for 2 to go snorkel the Great Barrier Reef. So be sure to hashtag Townsville Shines so you can take advantage of that.
Many of you have already been using this hashtag. We've already seen some pretty incredible shots from around Townsville, so the competition is heating up. But we'll be announcing that those 3 winners will be announced on Friday. So you got a few days to get in there.
Get your best shot in. You can enter as much as you want. So there's also just a website, ywamtogether.org, has a few announcements for you. So be checking that daily, just if you're wanting to stay in the loop on the latest. All the information should be there. And for now, we get to go do one of my favorite things about being in Australia, morning tea. So be back here at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock sharp. You'll see the countdowns. Don't be late, but enjoy morning tea. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.